stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup is a whisper. Conversations open door. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing.
Well, hello. Good morning. It is Saturday. I am extremely excited about this event today. I got to tell you, it's almost Valentine's Day. Do you guys know that? Do you know? Can you tell by what you see on the screen? And I'm in a spot in my life where I thought, dang, it's going to be different this year. Let's talk about it. And you know what? Maybe I'm not alone in the thought of a self-love day of Valentine's, and I'm going to let you guys behave today, right? Because this is going to be a little bit off the cuff, but also the title can be played with in the wrong ways. And so we're just going to be grown-ups here. I'm going to say that right away. Also, we're not. This is very much a let me fill your Valentine's box on your school desk. It is that box. I want you to create it in your brain. How am I going to put little Valentine notes into your box today to remind you you are your own Valentine? You do have to love you every day. And, you know, you can make every day a day of love like that day, right? There's so much going on here, but I'm Melissa Houston. This is Coffee Chats with Melissa Houston. And I do this every Saturday morning. We are live streaming on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where I play most often. If you're not following me there, you should be. You should be. I have a ton of friends over there who like to play with others. It's the coolest playground I know. So go check it out. I also just want to give a quick introduction to who I am. I am a life coach. I am a business consultant. I have been doing both actions for quite some time now. I've been in my business for 10 years, almost 11, come April. And I have helped everybody from students to parents to business leaders, help them with their team development. I have helped with sales and marketing and growth. I've done lots of work on startups with founders. And I've even talked with mayors after they've done 2 terms and needed to figure out what they wanted to do next with their life. There's really nobody that can't benefit from my service. Everybody has something they're working on in life, and life and business often overlap in ways we wish they wouldn't, right? It usually one interrupts the other. And so if you're looking for some coaching, yeah, definitely can help you with that. I also help with leadership development, business transformation. I can coach your team to be better in their craft while helping them figure out their life, right? So those are some of the services I offer currently, guys. If you are looking for individual coaching for your team, I'm ready for you, right? So I have some offers going. I wanted to remind people they don't always know. And then also, if you are a person in business looking to launch your own startup, looking to grow online, I have a social selling package that's available. We can do a review of your profile, optimize it to make sure that they're telling the story that, you're telling the story they want to hear. I'm waking up, I promise. But we'll create a brand kit. We'll make it to where every time they look at that image, they know it's you. And then we'll do some coaching and planning together. Now, that's done. We're done there. I am the cultivator of dreams, motivator of human capital. And what that means is I help people like you figure out what they want to be when they grow up, get a plan of action together, hold them accountable, and then share along the way. If you want to, you can go over to YouTube and subscribe right now, just because I've heard LinkedIn is glitching sometimes. It happened to me last night while I was watching a live. So please make sure this is in your back pocket. You can find me at Document Then Act on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and on YouTube. Are you guys alive? Are you guys ready? Are you ready to get into this topic today? I am really excited if you can't tell. Just wanted to do some quick intros. So welcome to those who are joining. I did see Sean this morning. I got to say thank you again, Aaron Gibson, for that wonderful promo introduction song. I love it so much. It gets my day moving. I always have more energy after. Jose, welcome. Kaleem, welcome. These are names. Felipe is not here. I don't know where Felipe is, but he's not here. This is my show today, but thank you. We are going to be live tomorrow on Careers, Chaos, and Coaching together. I'm glad to hear the audio is working. Guys, $10 headphones I bought at Best Buy. They are the best thing I've ever had. They also have a little rubber nub thing that keeps them secure my ear. I think it's for joggers, but Melissa's a little animated in the studio. So good morning, Rob. Snowy. It is so snowy all over the world, and it's not snowing in Washington. It is a little bit rainy today, and I'm okay with that. But I'm really excited to get going. And then, oh my goodness, Kevin, I've missed your face, buddy. High five. How you doing? Let's get going. Okay. I'm excited. Do you love you? This sounds like a loaded question, and it absolutely is. When I started to think about a topic, everybody's going to cover the Super Bowl. We're doing that tomorrow, right? We're going to talk team leadership and prep and planning. And I was like, that's not really where my heart is this week. My personal life is ever evolving, like most people. And so I've been trying to figure out, as this newly separated married woman, right? Newly being 6 months. This is my first Valentine's Day where I'm not going to be with my husband on the day as a couple and all of that jazz, right? So I was starting to think, what does this day mean for me these days? What does it mean for humans as a whole? As a marketing person, I can tell you I've absolutely bought into the Kool-Aid on this day that's coming towards us. Always wanted to have the candy little hearts that taste like chalk but have cute little messages. Always wanted to be somebody's Valentine and make sure that all the kids in my class brought me one of those little cards to put in my cool little box that they allowed us a whole day of education to create or something, right? I bought in. Did you guys buy in? Are you a fan of the holiday? Do you hope to be a Valentine? Is this day something that stirs up emotion for you? I think every day can really be a Valentine's Day. And that's what I started to think through, is like, do we put too much stock in holidays? Do we put too much pressure on this one day that we have been marketed our whole life, right? And I think about that in every way for celebrations. But I started to think about birthdays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, all of the holidays that I've celebrated, anniversaries. Um, and I realized the best days I ever had were the days that I ensured the success, that I ensured I got to do what I wanted, that I ensured I had a say in how my day went. And I started to think, well, what does that really look like for people? How does that play into who I am as a person, what this thing is, um, and the mindset of it all, right? And so I asked myself, what does this look like on a daily basis? And I just wondered if you guys know, what does life look like for you when you love yourself? Do you have set time to work out? One of the things I almost said about Kevin was like, he is one of those people that when I think of, he's just like a big, broad, tall guy in my brain. I don't know how tall he is, but I'm 5'4", so everybody's tall to me. But he works out, and I know that about him. It's been part of his marketing through the years, and I know others online who do the same. Bree comes to mind, Coach Bree. She was on a fitness magazine and the runner-up for like the top placement, and she's just so in shape for her age. And I think that's self-love. I think showing up for yourself at the gym, watching what you eat, maybe watching how much you're drinking or partaking in things that don't really benefit you. I'm sipping on a Red Bull now. I'm not saying they're healthy or not healthy, but I probably consume one too many. I am not going to say how often, but self-care could be hydrating and orange juice or whatever. Sometimes it looks like Red Bull for me. Those are choices, right? Choices we're making. There are other ways to play. Maybe you overspend and then you stress about your income for the rest of the week. You do a feast or famine kind of mindset. You love yourself incredibly on a Friday, but Saturday you're not so kind. It can happen in relationships too, right? Where the love is really thin between the holidays and then they show up. And there's a lot of weight that can be put on that kind of behavior. And so instead of looking at this one day, this one marketed, really well-crafted, beautifully designed day to appreciate others, which I think we should be intentional about, maybe we can make it an intentional action every day, right? And that's something that I really wanted to tackle because I think we put too much stock in that one day. And I'm sitting here on the 7th of February. That's when we're live. That's a week from today is Valentine's Day. Now I'm approaching this with the intention of showing up that day. I'm going to be there. But I can't promise that's really true, right? I don't have anybody promising me that when it comes, that I will be there. So if that's true, right, then we always have to ask ourselves, is this how I want my last day of life to be experienced? Because it could be today. This could be the very last day we all get to hang out together. This literally could be the last time I see you in my message feed. It could be the last time we get to have this conversation or any conversation. And I don't want to get too heavy, guys, but I need you to be aware that this is the truth, right? And so if we're just focusing on what a week from now is going to look like, we might miss this moment. And so how do we love ourselves today in spite of? Sorry, I'm reading this here. Felipe, I love this moment just to take a deep breath and pause for a second on this. But Red Bull, I didn't say it was hydrating. I said I was sipping on it. I did have water before the show, but I do limit my water before the show because I'm going to go live for 2 hours and I'm an older lady who doesn't want to have to pause for the cause and run to the ladies' room. But genuinely, guys, what does your last day look like on earth? If you could dream that right now, what is it? And we've been marketed this also, right? Every movie we've ever seen, every romance story, book, whatever it was, even if it was valor and chaos at the end, that there's something there. Do you go out fighting? Do you go out with peace and surrounded by loved ones? What does that look like? And I would love for you to drop that in the comments. What does your last day really look like? And it doesn't have to be a paragraph or anything, but how do you want to spend that day? If I told you you have 12 hours right now, clock started, what do? Who are you with? What are those actions you're taking? What are those last 12 hours going to be spent doing? And the reason I want to ask this is, number one, clarity. We never know what the last 12 hours is going to look like. And so if you want to intentionally plan them, you have to intentionally stay moving in them. If you want to spend your last days with your family, you should probably spend more time with family. You should plan that now. If you've been missing your family so much, and so when it's the last chance to do anything you want to do, and those are the people you think of, call them now. Send them a text while I'm live. I'm thinking of you, would love to set up some time to see you later, to see you this week, to see you today. Let's go do lunch. Can I come by and just drop off some flowers? I was thinking about you. I just wanted to say hi to the kids and bring your wife some flowers and see how you guys are doing. Today could be the Valentine's Day for the person who's in your brain. Every day should be. If you love yourself, spend time with the things you love. And that's why this question became so heavy, is because really I'm asking you to reflect on finality. What if your last Valentine's Day was your last Valentine's Day? Is it the way you wanted to spend it? If, like Erin has a memory of Valentine's Day that's not so great. So can we change that for him, right? I don't know. But being aware of what doesn't make you feel great is a really good thing to do. Being aware of what makes you feel good is a really good thing to do. Spending time with people who don't make you feel good is probably not the best way to end the day, right? Think about that. Why don't you feel good? What is it that changes the way you're feeling in a moment? Because, Valentine's Day is supposed to be fun, but a lot of the times when I was thinking about days or any holiday really, where I didn't feel celebrated, or I didn't feel seen, or I didn't feel like the day went the way I had hoped it was, it's because, one, I either didn't set a boundary ahead of time. If you have a huge family, sometimes that can mean they come in, they leave their children to play and run around your house, and there's no real rules about how they can play in somebody else's house. Maybe that same person would take a nap. I remember a family member who would do that kind of thing, kind of drop the kids and just go, oh, there's enough people watching, and just take naps. That boundary not being in place of, hey, no, please make sure you're on top of your guest while you're here in my house. The people you bring with you are your responsibility, wasn't set ahead of time. And so something that could have created a ripple without it, right? Setting boundaries of, I matter. I am not going to only give on this day. I'm not going to pour everything I have into others with the expectation they will do that in return. Because that misconception of, oh, well, I spent all this time planning all this wonderful thing for him, he didn't do anything for me, or vice versa, them, swap it out for you. But if you know that you have an expectation for the day, that you want to feel like you matter, did you tell them what that looks like? Did you explain to them that while I do deserve to be treated well, this is how that presents for me? Because when we set the standard of, my life is what I'm going to allow, when it doesn't feel good, we can move away. If I touch something hot and it hurts, I'm going to pull my hand back. If I reach in and it feels warm and I'm enjoying that, right? Like on a cold day where you put your hands closer to the fire to bask in that warmth, you're allowing that heat to work for you instead of against you. It's your choice of how close you put your hand into that flame and when. And then setting the standard of, my values aren't negotiable. I will be treated with respect today, even if it's just by myself, from myself, especially when it's us treating us. You have to understand what that means. Sometimes my favorite thing, and especially in my happiest times of life, our Valentine's Day was a boundary of we don't celebrate it on that day. I mean, we do, but we do that at home quietly with Netflix, popcorn, a dinner, whatever. And then we do our outside official, if we want to do dinner, movie, whatever, we don't do it the day of because we don't want to be out with everybody. We don't want to wait an extra hour for a reservation. We don't need to have that special little heart-shaped whatever that day. Now, that was our boundary. That was something we didn't need. We enjoyed to be at home in matching pajamas or something instead, right? And so when you determine what works for you and you determine what that looks like and you can communicate it with each other, right? It's a game changer because what happens if somebody wants to take Melissa Houston out on Valentine's Day and Melissa has already determined over the course of 2 decades that that is probably the worst case scenario for me. That's really not something I want to do. Do I explain that to them or do I let them take me through their version of what the day should be without communication? Do we meet in the middle? I'm a big fan of the Venn diagram, right? What if I say, this is my boundary? This is what I enjoy and don't enjoy. And then they can do the same. And you agree to align on just the things you like, right? It doesn't mean that we have to not go out on Valentine's Day, but maybe we don't do the full steak dinner thing. Maybe we just go get the ice cream in that little hole in the wall place nobody really knows about. We could do that. Maybe we go to the park with takeout instead of sitting in the restaurant. If you really want to celebrate on that day and it's important to you on that day, great. How do we do that? These are things that we have to set up early, right? And follow along with me, guys. Do you do planting? Any kind of growth, any gardening, any kind of home from seed to fruit or fruition, right? Whatever it is. If you think about that mindset, there are some things you just can't grow in the same pot. They will steal from each other by doing so. It will create a harsh environment to thrive in by putting them in the same pot, asking them to both grow at the same time in the same way. They might need the same nutrients from the same place, but maybe they are different in every other way. One likes it wet, one likes it dry, right? It's the same when it comes to love. Not everybody feels or experiences love the same way. Not everybody was given love the same way growing up. There are some people whose parents showed them love by buying them everything they ever wanted, but never spent any quality time. There are others who only got quality time because there was no money to be spent. And so they found unconventional ways to celebrate days like that. If you guys don't talk about who you are before you meet and what that looked like as you grew, how do you ever truly meet them where they are? Knowing what you need to know about the other person to truly serve them and yourself, right? That matters. And so whatever the holiday, whatever the experience, if you don't know what makes you feel good and you don't know what makes them feel good and you don't know what in the opposite side of things makes them feel bad. There are people out there who have this generational trauma. There are people who are scared to be successful because success in their family meant divorce because dad was never home and mom just wanted him home and dad wanted to provide, but they never met in the middle anywhere. There was never time to do any middle ground work. And so then that taught the children, well, dang, if I get too successful at work, it's going to cost me at home, right? Or the opposite. And we see this, and, I've read so many books and stories and been in the rooms where we have these conversations, but it really made me just think about today. How do you love you? And if loving yourself means being loved by somebody else because that's something you want and need, and you love yourself by moving into that kind of love, that's allowed. It's fantastic in a marriage to have that kind of sensation going between people. But do you love yourself inside of that marriage? Do you love yourself separately? Or do you only see yourself through the eyes of somebody else? Because if that happens, then your values become negotiable. Your life isn't what you allow, it's what you're perceiving through somebody else's vision. You're taking everybody else's perspective as your value. And that does not allow you to set the standard of, I deserve to be treated well. And it does not tell you you matter, because if somebody else doesn't see that, and you are only grabbing your value from their perspective, you're in trouble. That's not self-love. It can't be sustained that way, because as soon as they decide you're not worth loving, caring for, providing for, or whatever that is, right? Whatever that thing you're grabbing through their perspective, their love, their care, you lose it for yourself as soon as they stop. And that's something that's really detrimental to you. Oh, long term, there is no way to move through that successfully, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. But the way you speak to yourself in every moment will set a standard. If you say, oh, I'm unlovable because he doesn't like me, he didn't buy me the flowers, I didn't get the insert here, fill in the blanks, Mad Lib style. I'm not a worthy employee, I didn't get the promotion. When I got laid off, when the businesses that were startups didn't see full success, it made me start talking to myself. And I'll be honest, there were days when it wasn't so kind, because I'm like, what the heck, lady? You knew better. Even if that was it, just why didn't you ask better questions? Why didn't you get into the nitty gritty more? Why did you just blindly trust X, whatever this is, right? Insert here. Every conversation matters, whether it's with yourself, with others, how you're perceiving what others are saying. There are people who have said some things to me where I just had to pause and look at them and process, one, how am I going to behave in this moment? Two, what on earth must they be feeling for them to behave in this moment? And three, I'm not absorbing any of that. Now, I can assist with moments, right? If you think about a toddler, anybody have a toddler? Anybody ever experienced parenting, being the uncle? Think about the toddler who's in the middle of the living room having a fit. They've missed their lunch, they're tired, I don't know, something's wrong. Their favorite fire truck got swallowed by the dinosaur and now they think it's gone forever. I don't know. But that moment. In that moment, you can choose a few ways to behave. You can either dive into the chaos with them. You can back up and allow them space to feel their feels and get it out, expel the energy. You can scream back. You can walk away and avoid it completely. All of these things are choices. When you think of yourself, have you ever put yourself in timeout or had that moment where you could tell you were responding like a toddler in the moment, where you were outside of yourself? Maybe the dinosaur ate your toy. I don't know. But you started behaving in a way where you knew it was that similar behavior. You could identify, oh my gosh, I'm acting like my favorite toddler. And what did you do in that moment? Because there have been moments where I'm like, you know what, girl, get it together. And I'm just frustrated. I'm hangry. We've talked about that, don't hang out with me too long. If I haven't had food in the last 12 hours, it's probably dangerous. I am the dinosaur that ate your car or whatever. But also, do I give myself grace going, man, you worked really hard today. Now go feed yourself. It's time for you to take care of you. Do I say, oh my gosh, girl, you can't even prepare. You know you have to eat lunch every day. Why are you always so hangry at noon? Both options have come up in my head. Both are true. How I determine in that moment to either give myself grace or get frustrated with myself is going to change a lot for the rest of the day. What if I have a second set of life to deal with? Like I'm a coach, right? So what if I coach all morning? I pour. My pitcher's empty. I need to fill. I need some carbs and protein stat, probably a little cheesy sauce. And I know it, right? I need to put a little something in the tummy. I need to give myself some nutrition. I need to really just pause, take a break, do some self care, whatever that lunch break looks like. Feet up, Candy Crush, watching Netflix, a documentary, a podcast, music, dance party. These are all things I can decide to do, or I can curse myself out all the way to the drive through. I can curse myself out all the way to dinner because I'm going to skip lunch too because you didn't plan, you don't get it. If you didn't prepare for lunch, you don't get a lunch. That's what you get. Maybe tomorrow you'll do better. What if I said that to your kid? What if you said that to your kid? Think about the pressure we put on each other for not showing up. What if you expected your husband to bring your lunch that day instead of you? What if I swap you out in the scenario for your loved one? Pick your person. You know I always forget lunch. Why don't you tell me? You know I always forget this. Why don't you do it? These are things you can do, right? How you speak to yourself, how you speak to others in every moment matters. And truth is, it starts with us first. If we're going to talk crappy to ourselves, we are going to be terrible to other humans because we are the most selfish creatures in existence. I'm sorry, friends. I said what I said. Humans move to save themselves most often first. Like it really, truly, put your mask on, then your kids, right? Animalistic instincts. We've seen this in the worst movies ever. You'd think Hunger Games style. What happens at the end of the world? What happens on Black Friday when there's only 5 TVs for $99? That's where I'm thinking when I say these things, right? And so if we're really negative to ourselves in those moments where we have choices to make, we have taught ourselves it's okay to get negative. Right? That's what we're saying. You're so mean to yourself in those moments. You talk crap to yourself. You're abusive to yourself in a lot of ways. You're not loving you in those moments. How do you love somebody else in those moments if you don't even give yourself the grace? This is why in relationships, if you don't love yourself first, you can't love somebody else effectively. And it's not because we don't want to. It's not because we don't have the intention and we could do it 80% of the time. It's the 20% of the time that changes life. It's the 1% of the time. It's one conversation that changes your life, guys. Every time. I don't care what it is. The new job, the new home, the new diagnosis, the new insert here. One conversation always creates that big ripple, and you don't know what it's going to look like till it comes. And you don't know how much time you have to have those conversations that can create the change you want to see, the good stuff. So what does your life look like on a daily basis, right? I'm going to keep coming back to that. What does it look like? Are you having the conversations you're proud of? If yesterday's 12 hours that you were up and active and moving on average, right? Just 12 hours of action. Are those the last 12 hours you want on your tombstone? Is yesterday's love sufficient forever for you? Did you love yourself so well yesterday that it could last you a lifetime? And what if this is that last day? How well did you love yourself? And I know this is hard, guys. And if it feels heavy, tell me it feels heavy. Feels heavy, because I will make sure you're okay. If you need to chat, get into my LinkedIn DMs and tell me you want to come on stage. I'm welcoming people to come have this conversation with me if you want to talk about it. Not going to open it up quite yet, but it will open up. What does your self-love look like? What does your self-talk look like? Joy is not something you need permission to experience. neither is love. I think finding joy has to be intentional. Whether it's allowing myself to not stress on the small stuff, so when that moment of laughter comes up, it can just take me away, right? I often talk about the lazy river. I love a lazy river in a water park. It's just so nice. I get to sit still, keep moving, watch the world, never have the same perspective the whole time. Like you can float it 20 times, and depending on the position of the tube, it's different every time. The people are moving around you every time. It's always different, unless I stand up. And in those moments where I'm standing in a lazy river, the joy is now gone. I'm trying to get out. I'm struggling against the current. There are people who are floating and they can't stop, and they're going to bump me whether I like it or not because I'm in their way. So knowing that I'm enjoying myself when I'm floating, but I'm not enjoying myself when I'm standing firm in something, when I know I have to act. There's a difference there, right? I know when I'm trying to be productive, when I'm trying to get into action, when I'm trying to move from one spot to the other, it's not as easy to just enjoy the moment. It's a truth with love. If I'm always looking at one moment to the next of, did they bring the flowers? Did they bring the card? Did they do this act? I'm not floating through enjoying what could come. And that's something else, guys. And I'm going to come back to the comments here in a second, and I'll definitely be sharing the link on LinkedIn to anybody who wants to come up soon. But do you dictate your holidays so strictly that there is no room for the other person to even try to be creative on your behalf? Try to have joy without permission. I think about parents, like, are you one of those parents that shushes your kids' joy when they're laughing too loud? Do you come in and allow it and laugh with them, or do you go, shh, keep it down in there? What about love? Somebody tells you, hey, I love you. I just want to spend some time with you. And you go, hey, dude, what do you mean? Me? Why? What are you talking about? Joy, love, peace, patience, kindness, all of these things I have been taught in my faith are in our own control to source and find and seek, and that we also should give them. And so if my husband, for example, was a giver, somebody who wanted to plan, which I can't say he was, he very much liked directions, right? This is what I want. This is what I need. He did do unconventional small things that he would find on his own, right? Because I didn't tell him exactly what I wanted. I was like, I definitely want to go get some food, and I like orchids, and I would give some hints. But was that the requirement? No. And that's something you have to be okay with, guys. If your idea of love is a heart-shaped box full of chocolates that are varied in nature, kind of like a guessing game, a specific flower and a specific gift beyond that, you have to articulate that. If that's what brings you joy, say so. But then what brings them joy? Is it the cooking? Are you asking them to take you out when their joy is cooking for their loved one and cooking something intentional from scratch, a recipe you've wanted to do? Are you taken away from a moment at home that could be flowers down the hallway, a heart shape on the bed, a beautiful dinner, and a bubble bath? If you're telling them the only answer is reservations at 7. So think about where you find joy. Do you allow other people's joy? Do you have joy no matter what the experience is? Are you just happy to be in that day with them? Does it not matter what Bob brings, because no matter what, as long as Bob's there, it's a good day? Do you need financial stability to experience Bob in a way that's enjoyable? Can you walk in the park? Can you pick a wild flower? Can you eat at home yesterday's leftovers and still have love and joy? And if not, why? What is lacking? Because truth is, guys, when I think about love long term, when I think about who I want to be when I grow up and what that looks like with or without a partner, I don't want to have unlimited funds to make my life happy. Because I might not have unlimited energy to create those funds. I might move into inflation that I've never seen before, and I won't ever be able to have that kind of stability in the future. Maybe, right? Or maybe the people with money also don't feel like it's sufficient to make them happy. And I'm aware of that because I work with them often and they come to me to help with mindset, right? So for me, joy does not come from income. It does not come from paid activities necessarily. Like I will love Disneyland and there is a fee to that for sure. But does it have to be the thing we do every holiday or the only thing that brings me joy? Those are things I want you to think about. Charles says, if you're in a relationship, are there things one must completely take care of, cooking, paying bills, or is everything split? That is a personal conversation with you and your spouse or your partner, because I won't speak for everybody. One person may love the thought of being a stay-at-home parent, taking care of the children, doing the laundry, keeping a beautiful home, and having dinner on the table by 5. Others may think, I'm just going to pay the bills, and that's great. Others may say, hey, I don't want the full responsibility of any of this because I know I'm a human and I could be gone tomorrow. And what happens if I disappear? Are you going to be able to sustain yourself? Is it always on me? If I'm sick, what happens next? And so those are conversations you guys have to do on your own. Let me see. I'm going through these comments here. Bill says, why do I hate mornings? Sir, because you're probably up too late at night. That's usually what I tell my kids. Can stress overwhelm love? I think that's what you meant without the ED. I'm going to take that. Let me know. But I think stress can eclipse anything. I think stress is one of those black circles in a Venn diagram that can just block out everything behind it. It is something that if you don't maintain, it's hard to shift beyond. And I think that's true for anything, right? Joy, love, even in just relaxation. If you're stressed out, it disappears. There's none of that. There's nothing that I can think of that stress does not eclipse. So how do you prevent that eclipse from happening? How do you stop your body from being blacked out by something you don't want to feel? I love this. I just have to give a shout out to Aaron because he doesn't always eat food. I love that he's eating better. And also, I'm one of those people who yells at him for not doing it. Coach Carrie, welcome. Speaking positive vibes and prosperity over myself and y'all too. I love that, right? She loves me. And on the opposite side, guys, you are going to love yourself better than anybody because you understand yourself better than anybody has ever understood yourself. And you're going to be the meanest person ever because you know what to poke at. You do, right? We do. And I don't want you to think it's just you doing this. This is something that I struggle with too. I don't always love me. I don't always love the attitude. I don't always love the way when I look at myself in the face, I can see the attitude coming back. That eyebrow goes up because the truth is I call myself out on more stuff than most. And so struggling with love, both ourselves and others, is something I do. As somebody who was raised in the environment in which I was raised, and if you don't know, guys, my mom had a drug addiction. She struggled with severe depression to the point where she couldn't work because of it. And it was really hard to watch her try to love herself. It was hard to try to figure out what normal, finger quotes, right? Because I don't believe there's a normal, but there's kind of a set standard all humans should have. You should have stability. You should have food. You should have shelter. You should have some communication skills, hopefully decent ones. You should have some support network, hopefully good ones, right? And when I turned 18, I definitely felt different than those things. And it took me a long time to understand who I was without those other people around, taking those circles away from my Venn diagram, learning who I was as an 18-year-old parent, no less. Not just a person who finally got to decide for herself, but somebody who was also now responsible for others. And it was hard to figure out how to love myself. It was hard to figure out how to move forward in spite of not feeling that from the people who should have been providing that kind of feeling, right? And I think that perspective for me is what changed a lot. It allowed me to start figuring out who Melissa was. What did she like? What didn't she like? Even things like just putting things in a certain spot in the house. You know, if I didn't like the way my mom's kitchen was set up, now I get to change that in my own house. Maybe the forks and silverware are on the left, not the right, whatever it is. It's those little things that you have to learn about yourself. And it comes in small doses throughout time as you're working through your life. But it also has to come sometimes very quickly. When I was living on my own, I found my fiance, Jeremiah. For you guys who don't know, Jeremiah and I met at church after a small group session. And I was asking myself a lot of this back then. I was looking around at my family and my choices and the people's choices around me and how they were affecting me. The addiction that really affected my entire family. I have 7 aunts and uncles, and most of my grandmother's children were struggling with an addiction. Being the eldest grandchild in Arizona, being the one that was always mistook by the Michigan family as I was like the last in the line of my grandma's children in their mind. I was just the 9th kid, and I wasn't. But I picked up the slack. I was that one grandma called on because I was the older of the grandkids. I was just 10 years younger than her youngest, and I helped. But when I did that, I have to tell you guys, I wasn't loving myself to the extent I should have been. At 16 years old, I dropped out of high school to take care of my grandfather. It was my great-grandfather, my grandma's dad. I had never met him. I knew his wife, my grandma Kurtz, and she was my favorite human ever until I got closer with my grandma Morrison. Both of them being amazing humans I love tremendously, but I had favorites back then. And that's what kids do. And all I knew about this guy was that he had divorced my grandma and she never remarried, and she was just an amazing human. And so I had to figure out how to like him in spite of that. And I ended up giving up my high school career because I love my grandma enough to help. When I think back now, I could not fathom that life for my daughter. Now, I'm not mad at my grandmother. I loved her the way I wanted to love her in that time, and she loved me the way she could in the time. My mom did her best also, but also allowed those behaviors from me, allowed it to happen. And I'm not mad. I allowed it. They allowed it. But would I do that again? No. I don't think it was loving myself fully, putting myself first. Were there other options? Probably. Did I make it easy for the one I loved? Yes. And so not to be upset about it at all, but how many times have you been in that scenario in your life where you're making decisions to try to appease others, to help out? You know it's really bad. You know you can fix it. But is it the way you're supposed to move? And is that how you want to spend your last 12 hours? If I had to choose today, I would take care of my grandfather again. I would. I'm in a different place now. Would I go back to 16-year-old me and allow it? I probably wouldn't. If I'm being honest, I would love her better these days. I have a better mindset about who she is and who she'll become. And I think there are a lot of things she could do instead. There are other options that could have been utilized that would allow Melissa to be in a different spot. And so if I could go back, I would change it. And knowing that allows me to use that knowledge when I plan forward. Now, when I look at my daughter, who is my future, and I'm looking at her future because that's my job, right? How do I prepare her? How do I protect her? I don't put her in that same environment. Now, do we show up for family if they need it? Absolutely. That doesn't change. We just change maybe how that response looks. We can be supportive without taking over the problem. Does that make sense, guys? And I'm looking at these comments. I got to be honest, I can't talk and scroll and read. But I love this recommendation. A great book to learn about happiness is Awareness by Anthony DeMello. That's awesome. Rob says you can express love by doing little things to help out. That is huge, guys. What if I just took over weekends back then instead? What if I just allocated the time I had outside of school to come help? Maybe I could come over just to do the grocery shopping coverage, the personal appointments my grandmother had to take on. What if I would have covered differently? You don't have to allow somebody just to move into your home just because they're hungry, kind of thing, right? You can feed them without them living with you. Oh, you guys, I'm so sorry for your weather. Hello, Jay. Welcome. It says here, agreed, how partners manage their finances is very personal. I don't feel there's a right or wrong way. Nope, it has to just work for you guys. And if it's not working, talk about it. Have that conversation. Explain this isn't working and this is why and this is how we can solve it, or I need your help to solve it, right? Communication matters. And this is with yourself, guys. If you say, hey, I'm not feeling so hot, why? You can assess your why and then address it. Most of the time, I either need a Red Bull or I've had too much Red Bull and I need something to eat. I am sorry. I want to get in here. Guys, message me on LinkedIn if you want to come up. I'm going to go there in a second. Let's see. Oh, yeah, you're talking about pets. Okay, so we're doing all right. Guys, is this how you want to spend your last day? Think about yesterday. If that was your last day, what would you want to change? You don't have to share with me necessarily, right? You don't have to put it in the comments. You can. But what would you change about yesterday if you thought it was the last day? Who would you have called? What would you have done differently? What ripple did it have that will sustain you? And what would have taken away from that overall feeling you want people to be left with? The other question I have here is, sorry, I clicked the wrong side here. I'm going to get there. I promise. Okay, so self-care, rest, and growth are love in action. I believe this to my core, in my being, that if you don't take care of you, if you don't keep filling your cup, if you don't keep adding to your tool shed, then you're going to eventually run into a wall. Some wall. It's either going to be a wall you can't climb over to get to the next level in your business, in your career, in your relationship. Your body's going to say no thank you, and you're going to hit a wall that way, and it's going to tell you where you have been lacking in taking care of it. And so if you truly love yourself, what are those things you're doing for your body, your mind, your career, your life to allow it to continue to grow, thrive, and sustain? A lot of times in relationships, for example, you got to go talk, right? You got to go on dates. You got to be intentional about creating time to engage each other outside of the responsibilities. They recommend like once a week, once every 6 weeks. I forget what it is. I'll have to go find it. If you guys know what the recommendation is, let me know. But I know there's like, you can't go over a certain amount of time without investing back into that personal time with each other before the relationship will statistically, scientifically show signs that it's breaking down. When I first saw this in place, was in my Bible study. It was Lisa and Mark. They were my Bible study leaders. One's a nurse, one's an engineer, very well-to-do people, very connected in their community, active in the church, very busy, just busy. They have a huge family, or did back in the day, especially multiple kids. They brought in others and adopted. I mean, just beautiful humans. And their one non-negotiable was Friday night. No matter what, mom and dad are going out and you're not welcome. Don't come. It's not for you. It's for us. And I thought, wow, like that was kind of rude. As a kid in my brain, I was like, my mom never goes out without us. What are you talking about? And again, different mindset. We didn't have the fun. So once a month when we did go out, my mom took us with a lot in her sobriety, especially. And so to see them set that standard and to see the kids not be even half as upset as I was about the concept was something I had to reflect on and think on. And then as I had children, as I married a man who already had children before the relationship, and I did too, our 3 children became 4. He has 3. I have 2. Together we have 4. You can do that math. But that Venn diagram of that last baby, bringing that family together, was very Brady Bunch. It was very chaotic. We didn't have even pairs of girls and boys to go split off and do, and we definitely didn't have a nanny. And you saw the chaos that took place every show on the Brady Bunch, even with all the help, even with all the funding. And I started to think about those personal moments where mom and dad just have to go off together. You know, the people in our lives who matter need to have that special time. I thought about my relationship with my grandmother, somebody who always made me feel loved. Never doubted it. Every time I picked up the phone, I knew it was going to be Valentine's Day with that lady. She would always put a little Valentine's in my box. What did I do with that lady? I made sure she knew every Sunday I was calling at the same time. It was never going to interrupt her favorite activity, which was bingo. It was always after that. It was always when she was in her quiet, maybe the week was slowing down. Maybe it was time where she would feel lonely as somebody who had so many kids and grandkids always around. And I would call then, and we'd have the most beautiful conversations. I wanted to say delectable because I don't know why, but shout out to Ken Dunner because that's who I thought of when I thought of it. But it was just that moment. And everybody would joke, oh, you're her favorite. You're her favorite. And I was like, but do you know why? Like, you say that, but do you understand why our relationship is as strong as it is? And I would tell him, because I call her once a week minimum. Like, I guaranteed have a set time every week that lady and I speak. And we spend hours talking about everything. I ask her what movie she watched on Hallmark. I talked to her about a documentary. Told her about the black squirrel that ran across the patio while we were sitting and talking. Why? Because she just wanted to hear about me. And me telling her about me and the success and the growth and the business and the things I was doing now made her proud. It filled her cup because honestly, my grandmother had a lot of guilt that I took care of her father. So when I was able to show her LinkedIn and the things I was doing and the startups and running a staffing firm and starting a background screening company and being in business for myself and working remotely from her house, getting paid to just sit there and talk to her while I ran background checks. And she was in awe. And why did I get to do that? Oh, because every Sunday I'd call her, and one Sunday she said, you should visit. Easter's coming. And I said, yes. My self-care was being filled by that woman, being celebrated for the wins in spite of her knowing the background, her being part of that background, being able to rest in the love she gave, the celebrations, the gold stars she handed out. I knew that was coming. And then I gave them back to her. Grandma, you empowered me. Grandma, it was you who taught me not to be scared to walk into those rooms and say what I was thinking. Grandma, it was. And that's just my grandmother. But how many people in your life do you have that conversation with? That's what this next week is about, right? Just showing people we love them, intentionally giving them Valentine's, telling them something. All this is intentional action to remind people they matter. That's all the holidays really are. We market everything else. Everything else is something you, me, and all those people on LinkedIn are responsible for, right? We do this to sell business. We do this to sell product. We do this to get people engaged and moving. And how many diamonds are sold in February kind of thing, right? But what if I said, let's not do that only then? Let's stop putting a price tag on it. Let's stop saying you only love me if you do this grand display of whatever Instagram is going to tell me to do this week. And I'm happy for those posts. I've Instagram posted the cute stuff. I've done it. I'm part of the problem. I owned it. I said it early. However, what if we could just do it every day? And it doesn't have to be the grand, I can post this to Instagram feeling, right? We can do it by setting boundaries that don't hurt others. We can do it by reminding ourselves it doesn't take grandma calling us to feel loved. If I call her, I still get the same kind of exchange once the phone's there, right? Once that line is activated, I get to be treated well by her. I know I matter. I'm allowing her to pour into me by reaching out to her. And she's allowing me to pour into her by receiving the call. And when we stop trying to negotiate who should make the first move, who should go first, chicken or the egg, whatever. If you miss somebody and you tell somebody you miss them and then they get to say it back, does it matter that you said it first? Do you love you enough to act on that feeling, even if they don't know you're feeling it? That comes back to you being intentional. Because if I don't know what you need, I can't provide it. If I don't know your favorite color is blue and I'm buying you red on Valentine's Day and you're just like, that's the worst thing ever. Did you tell me? Because I promise you I'm acting to make you happy. And if you didn't communicate what makes you happy, then we're doing each other a disservice, because I'm working to fix that. I'm working to help. And in the opposite, right? What if they always give you a rose and you prefer a daisy? Are these conversations you're having? Are these things that you're taking responsibility for? Something that I have here is, do you give yourself the love you need? Because if you're aching for somebody, but you don't dial the phone to solve that, if you have a craving for a human and you want to be part of that conversation with them and you don't solve for X and you don't communicate that you want them, you need them, you miss them, you love them. The same with a raise from your boss. The same with PTO being utilized, the same with extra help on deck because you're overworked and you've grown exponentially and you don't have the staff you need now that you've grown so much. Are you giving yourself that love by communicating that on? I love this, Jay. Jay is exactly where I'm at. We need to acknowledge the cause of stress. We don't need to accept it. We can do things to protect ourselves. It doesn't mean we live in ignorance. And we don't live in the chaos. Just because it's a rough day at work doesn't mean it has to stay that way. It is up to you, because bosses want you to be productive. Bosses want you to be able to do the job, right? And if you tell your boss, I can't do the job without a pen, chances are good the next thing that they're going to do is hand you a pen. If you tell your spouse, I don't feel loved if we don't go out in public and you hold my hand and kiss me in front of the world, you have acknowledged your need for PDA. For whatever reason you need that, you have now stated that. And if they have a moment to provide that and can, they will. If they love you and they understand your need and they're willing to provide what you need because they love you and said so, communicate it. I love this right here. Me talking about me made her proud. This applies to my relationship with my grandma. And you know what? Yes. Sometimes, just for perspective, right? Think about the calls grandma might get. Your grandma, not mine, just grandma. I'll talk about the ones my grandma got, but think about the ones your grandmother might get. Mine would get, hey, Mom, I can't pay my bill, whatever bill. Hey, Mom, so-and-so was arrested. Hey, Mom, so-and-so took something when they were at my house that doesn't belong to them, make them bring it back. To be honest with you, a lot of the calls my grandma would get were no different than what she probably dealt with when they were all living in the house. Mom, somebody stole my toy. Mom, somebody hit me. Mom, she took my boyfriend. Whatever, right? I don't know. But my grandma never really evolved past those things. And truthfully, as her kids got older, the conversations got heavier. I hate to say it, but she got calls saying, Mom, Child Protective Services came to the house. Mom, they have my kids. Mom, I have to serve 15 years in prison. When I called my grandmother, I wasn't saying those things. I was giving her something different, and I didn't even realize it at the time, but in this conversation, in reflecting, it very much was filling her up in a way that I don't even think I understood, because I was there selfishly being filled up by her praise. But as a parent who has children who called and said, Mom, I've made a mistake, and whatever the mistake was, right? That call doesn't make you feel good. Even if you're there to console them afterward, you're like, man, I wish that wasn't true, or I wish I could fix that for them, or I wish they didn't have to live that, or I wish they didn't go through that breakup, or I wish insert here, right? We've all been there. So how do you love people in spite of not being able to solve for X? You just show up the way you can. You meet them where you guys align. I can't fix everybody's problems. I can help people understand and identify their problems. I can offer solutions. I can hold people accountable. But I cannot make somebody do the work. I cannot make somebody keep going with the plan once I'm off the phone. I cannot make somebody hear me while they're on the phone if they want to tune me out. It's the same in a relationship. If your partner is not hearing you, no matter how you say it, give yourself the love you need. My love being received is not going to be negotiated. I'm going to love myself. You're welcome to join me, but this girl's going to be loved today, right? Do you tell yourself that? What does that look like in your life on a daily basis? How do you show yourself love? I want to invite you guys to come on up. I'm at a point in the show. I would love to hear from you. Like, what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What kind of conversations have you had that were hard with somebody you loved that improved the love? Either for yourself by saying, nope, this is no longer for me. I'm sorry, what they're adding to my sweet loaf is not sugar. How do you remove yourself from those moments to show yourself love? Because truth is, if somebody's making you not feel great, if somebody's creating a ripple in your life that is not loving, they got to go. If somebody was, and I want you to think, anybody see The Rock with Sean Connery? Oh my gosh, this just popped in my head. Let me know if you have seen the movie The Rock. Just say The Rock. We'll confuse everybody. They'll think it's Dwayne Johnson. It'll be fantastic. But that movie was about, and I'm not going to give too much away, but some prisoners who break in, break out, there's some stuff going on, but there's this ball, this circle, this glowing green ball of gel that when it makes impact, when the bubble pops, it's gas. And as that gas seeps through the room, it's just destroying everything it touches. There are people in our lives that are those little balls. They're always floating around. I'm a big fan of bubbles. We're all a circle. We're all Venn diagrams, right? We're all our own little bubble. And sometimes when we come into people's lives, we're like that green little ball of chaos. Then there's those who float in like, Wizard of Oz style and the good witch of the north, and she comes in and all the munchkins love her and it's great and it seems like wonder. And then you watch the recent Wicked and you get a new perspective, right? The bubble in some people's lives are not the same. And so what's good for one isn't always good for all. And what does that look like? And you have to assess all the time. What works for Bob may not work for Bill. When people want to come hug on me, if I'm not initiating the hug, I probably am hating every moment of the hug, if I'm being honest. My favorite kind of hug is where you put the arms out and I come to you and accept it versus you coming in and just grabbing on me without permission. That's just a Melissa thing. Why? Because the love I was given before created those boundaries. How I feel best is when I'm in control of that kind of behavior. If you don't know that about me as a partner, a friend, a spouse, whatever, if you end up in my circle and you come in and you're trying to grab or hug or move in on me and I'm not comfortable, we're already not feeling love right now. Now that's a me problem. So what do? I set clear boundaries early with people who may get to move in like that. After I know you well, it's a lot different. Once I understand what your hugs look like coming in, it's a lot different. But if I don't know you and you just come hugging, what would you do if you're in the grocery store and some random person just hugs you? Does it feel like love? And so think about that. Are you giving love in a way your people can receive it? And do you know them well enough to provide it in the way they need it? Because love, it bubbles, it comes, it pours. We want to give it to others all the time. But if we don't do that in a way that they want it, are we loving them efficiently, effectively? Same with us. Are you loving yourself efficiently and effectively? Maybe you sign up for that gym membership, the coaching plan, the training, the college class, whatever it is. And then that's your act of love for yourself. I love you enough to invest in you. I want to get it done. And then you don't actually show up. You miss the class, you oversleep, you just can't do the coaching this week. You just can't make the appointment. You're going to reschedule that massage. How do you talk to yourself in those moments? Why didn't you go? What got you there? What did you allow to interrupt your self-love, and why? Now, there are some very valid reasons. If your car breaks down on the way to the appointment, that's a very valid reason for not being there. Maybe loving yourself was getting that fixed so you could have a better week because, oh my gosh, could you imagine your week without a vehicle or a car or whatever it is? Sometimes it's making sure, even though it broke down, you're still going to see that person today. Maybe it's rescheduling the coaching session because, yes, while you weren't ready to show up for yourself on Wednesday, Thursday is going to look better. Are you going to hate on yourself for your last 12 hours, in your last 12 hours? Are you going to punish yourself because you didn't get the one thing done? And so the last 12 hours of what could be the last 12 of your life is you just berating yourself? You have to decide what it looks like every day. And because we don't know what the clock looks like behind you, in my brain, there's always this invisible clock over our heads. We don't know what it's set to. We don't know when it runs out. And when it runs out, it runs out. And so what is that last line you give a friend? What is that last thing you said to your mom, your partner, your boss, your colleague? Maybe you're on a college team together and you have to do an assignment and you told them they were stupid and shouldn't have been assigned to your squad, and you walk out of the room. What if that's the last thing they heard from you? Would you love yourself if that's what you gave somebody else to go on? Because honestly, guys, when I don't like Melissa, and I'm going to talk about myself in the third person for just a second, it's usually because I acted in a way that I am not proud of. And I always love myself, but I'm not showing myself love all the time when I'm not very proud of how my actions were. And I do think that comes back to childhood, because I very much had a mom who would send me to my room when I was in timeout and I just got cut off from the world. So maybe that's what I do to myself now. And understanding that makes me aware, right? And being aware allows me to not live that. Instead of putting myself in a timeout, I will assess it and address it and just deal with it in the moment and take the lick and keep moving. When I learned this skill set, it changed my behavior in my workplace. As a kid, I was very scared to be found out to not have done my homework, my whatever, because the punishment was pretty aggressive. Not going to lie. People who have addictions aren't always really soft and sweet, caring parents like the Brady Bunch, right? And so I was always really on top of my stuff. I had to be. When I do something now where I don't do the to-do list or whatever, I had to give myself grace. When I make a mistake, I had to give myself grace. When I spilled the milk, we don't cry about it. We don't get upset. It's okay. We can afford another gallon. We didn't just ruin a month's worth of food or like a week's worth of food. But that was my reality back then. And so my mom's response was because she loved us and wanted to feed us, and now the milk spilled, ruined that. And it's all perspective. But guys, in the grand scheme of things, how would you react in those moments? And how do you want your child to feel? And what if that memory, whatever that response was in this moment, whoever that person is on the other side of the memory, is that really something so vital in that moment you need to leave them with a core memory like that? Because I promise you, if my mom would have known the ripple of that milk conversation, it would have never taken place. It just wouldn't have. She really would have been beyond herself, beside herself, to know that those little things really hurt my soul to that extent. Like I took on all of that weight. I don't want my kids to feel that. So if they spilled milk, I'm like, it's cool. It's milk. We'll get more. Even when we didn't have more to have the ability, because there were times early in my parenting, I really didn't have it to just replace milk. I just knew it wasn't worth the hurt that could come from me being upset with them. Does that make sense? Are you still there? Are you still with me? So ask yourself whether it's the people around you, yourself, whatever the situation is, before you respond. Are you doing it in a way that your future you would love? Will you be proud of yourself in doing it? What would make you proud instead? Because if stress can ruin love and relationships, and we know that acting in a way we're not proud of can ruin the way we look at ourselves or others look at us, what are our actions really going to do for us, right? What are we creating by acting in this moment? Is it good or bad? We're always planting seeds. We're always growing something. We're always setting a boundary, good or bad. It could be a barbed wire fence, or it could be a soft line of like floral arrangements that just bushes of roses that guide people along, and they look beautiful along the way. I'm certain Mr. Rogers had a lot of boundaries. As a matter of fact, as I'm listening to LeVar Burton read his book to me on, I think Spotify, I think is where it is. He was very stringent in his boundaries, actually. The people who worked with him, he drove a little bit crazy because his love of what he did was so present that he was meticulous. He was stringent. He was firm in what he would allow, and he would not negotiate his boundaries. His values of his show, the impact of the ripple of what the children would experience, it was not a negotiable pillar in his life. He really emulated all of this. He swapped I for you. You matter. You deserve to be treated well. Your life is what you allow. Your values aren't negotiable. And if he told you that, would you believe him? Because he told me that. I don't know if you guys remember, but he told me that a lot. And when I think about who I want to be, I would love to be a little bit of a Mr. Rogers character, right? I would love to have his mind, his brain, his empathy, his kindness, his tone, his sweater collection. I would love to be the Betty White of business who gets to put her finger in every facet she ever dreamed of. Any room she walked into, she was celebrated and welcomed in her craft, right? She could show up on a show and then just get a reoccurring role because they loved having her on set one day. And I think that's how it actually worked with It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, was she just was a guest star for one episode and they just kept her. That's who I want to be. When you think of Betty White, what do you think of? Because she set her boundaries. I know we've talked about it before. When she had her show, she got in a lot of trouble because she gave somebody who was African-American time on her stage. And they were upset. And they said, don't do that. And what did she do? She gave him more time next week. And they canceled her show. But it was her show. And she was going to do it her way till the very last moment. And she loved every bit of what she did and would have done it again, she said. And the people she was around felt loved. She knew that they mattered. They deserved to be treated well. Their life was going to be what either she or they allowed, right? Both were true in that scenario. And because they were valuable, the value was not going to be negotiable. I think it's important to look at your life and assess your business, your pleasure, yourself, your actions, the humans, and what you're doing and why. Because it's easy to be an ugly human. It's easy to get caught up in the tit for tat, he said, she said, the tennis that is an argument when you're passionate about something. But if we're going to really get back into what Valentine's is and do you love you in this moment right here, passion and love are not exactly the same thing. I can passionately hate something, which means passion and love are not equal. Do you love you? Are you passionate about you, or do you love you? Are you passionate about being heard, or do you love the words that are coming out of your mouth enough that you want them to ripple beyond today? These are conversation starters. These are things I would love to hear from you guys. I will share the link now. If you're on LinkedIn, feel free to message me and tell me you want to join. Come up on the stage. I won't drop it in the comments, but I would love to know how you love you, how you love others, how you show up for yourself or them in spite of the hard times. How do you give yourself the love you need? For Melissa, while we wait for the feed to catch up, because there's a little bit of a delay, I will say for me, the way I love myself is to open the curtains every day. I love to catch a sunrise and sunset with myself. It's something that I always dreamed that my partner would do with me often. Like we would intentionally get up together and do that, watch the sunset together over dinner. So when it wasn't happening, because he would leave before sunrise due to his career, sometimes I wouldn't get home till after sunset, right? Even especially now where I'm working, we close later. And so how do I do this for me if he's not there? What right? And even when we're together, we weren't together in those moments. And so how do I do it? I catch them anyway. If I wanted to do it with him, I could say, hey, the sun's setting, go outside, let's watch. And we could do it from other sides of the city. If I needed to share in that, I have ways. But the truth is, really what I wanted was for me to be able to experience it. And I just wanted somebody to hold me accountable, help me get there, to share in it with me sometimes, because that's the marketing of the love stories I've watched in the movies and all the stuff, right? But I'll be honest, the wonderment, the real excitement for me is intentionally every day allowing myself to see what could be my last sunset or my last sunrise, and making sure it's today's sunset and sunrise, that I didn't miss that last moment. If nothing else, I hope that when I'm gone, that my love of the sun coming and going is something that will make you pause when you catch it in your life. I love eating ice cream with a fork. Chaos, right? I know. There's something very cool about for me, I feel like this is self-love to be able to allow myself to break all the conventional rules when it comes to ice cream. Number one, I love to eat it right from the container, so don't get one that I have to share. If it's mom's ice cream, it's mom's ice cream. Now, can I share the family ice cream? Yeah, sure. It's not going to be as fun, though, because I want to eat it right from the container with a fork. Why a fork? Because you get better leverage. You get to get the chunks of the ice cream out the way you want. You get a better scoop. You don't have to take all the cream with you if you don't want. You get more control. It also tears up ice cream in a way that would make people look inside and go, oh my gosh, why are there fork lines in the ice cream if I had to share? I don't want to have that conversation. I love myself enough not to force that. So what do? I get 2 of that ice cream so I don't have to share. What's really neat is knowing myself enough to know that small thing makes me so happy. And what does it cost? A couple dollars more at the grocery store to allow that to happen, keep others happy. We don't have to worry about it. Everybody gets a piece. And it's simple. You have to find those things and just set those boundaries for you. Even if it's like, hey, don't use my loofah. Hey, don't use my face cream. This little basket is only for me. I don't share it. Everything else we can. Do you set those boundaries? Felipe, welcome to the stage. What's coming up for you? I love the boundary talk and self-love talk, but I don't know. Is it a hard one to deal with? Or are you finding some good pointers here? What do you think about it?
Well, good morning, first of all, and just off the whole topic of sharing. I have a wonderful family with a big heart, but sharing when it comes to certain foods isn't always the best quality of this family, to the point where, because I'd like to enjoy, say, my ice cream or my Thin Mints, and they might stay in the freezer for a while, meaning like more than a couple of days. Well, my family's like, well, what's it just sitting there? Are you going to eat it or not? Because if you're not going to eat it, we'll eat it. And I'm like, leave my stuff alone. So I have to hide my stuff in the refrigerator in my office if I want to make sure that I don't get it stolen, because my family has no self-control when it comes to like the few things that I'm like, just if you eat my stuff, just leave me like the last cookie or leave me a bite or bowl of ice cream. No, they just kill it and destroy it all. But that's not what this is about. It's about love.
Okay, it is a little bit though, because I'll be honest, I had 4 kids, right? And then a husband who's like, oh, she doesn't really dig leftovers. So he had free rights to my leftovers. The kids are the same way. Well, the ice cream's still here. Nobody wants it. I'll just eat it. I'm like, of course I wanted that ice cream. I have been planning a precise moment with the sunset on Saturday at 5 to eat that ice cream. Why'd you touch my ice cream? And truthfully, if they don't know that's your boundary, that's on us. If they know it's your boundary and still take your ice cream, that's on them. But it is all relevant. Like, how do you set that boundary? How do you love yourself enough to either hide some ice cream money, buy it at the time, stuff some in your drawer,
I've talked
whatever
about
it
the
is,
boundary.
right?
I put signs on the refrigerator about the boundary. I've done everything but skywriting, okay? I mean, I have tried to communicate my boundaries. They just don't care. Now, other boundaries, they respect with the utmost love and concern, and I appreciate that. It just comes to like the sweets and desserts that I just want to save. Like leftovers, I'm the leftover guy. I'll eat leftovers. I don't care. But when it comes to like the sweets or the desserts, that's where we have battles. That and popcorn. For some reason, my family does not share their popcorn. Everybody wants their own. Very weird.
Oh yeah, we don't share popcorn in this house either. But listen, guys,
I think we need to
if you
teach the
know
next
that,
generation how to share more. I'm just saying. I think we just
or maybe COVID taught us to stop sharing, and I think there's a ripple there too. A lot of us stopped doing buffets and all you can eats and whatever. But guys, if you know this is a point of contention, like Felipe does, like he said, he'll hide some in his office or something. I have a personal stash in my bedroom of my snacks that I can get that I don't want anybody to touch. It doesn't mean that my kid can't come and go, Mom, you got any snacks hiding? I'm craving something and there's nothing in there until we go shopping. Cool, whatever, right? Like, but it's the boundary of this is mine, ask permission, even in a relationship, guys, even with kids who are like, oh, my parents buy me everything. I get to eat what I want. If you love them, give them that moment they've been thinking about, because it's the worst case scenario, Felipe, when you go for that cookie and the last one's already gone. Even just that one cookie being there.
Oh, now
let me have a taste.
If you hide food in your bedroom, I don't recommend eating in your bedroom unless it's like breakfast in bed, obviously. But that is a bad habit to get into, which my father. Why
is that bad?
Because it's bad to eat right before you sleep. It's bad for your overall health, and it's a bad habit because you eat without noticing you're eating because you're probably watching TV or doing something else, and you don't brush your teeth usually if it's the end of the night. My father, God rest his soul, amazing man, but the man was dumb as a rock when it came to his teeth, because he would sit there, and this man had a PhD, y'all. He was smart, but he would have a stash of Hershey bars in his nightstand, and he would eat one before he went to bed at night and go to sleep. I'm like, dude, the chocolate's just sitting on your teeth. No wonder you have horrible teeth.
Oh my gosh, Felipe.
What?
So just don't change putting them in the bedroom. Just make sure you brush your teeth. Well, also, after I eat, I'm still going to have to empty my bladder out. There is no going right to bed for me.
Put them in a different room where
because I like it. Why not let me live my best life? Just because your dad did it doesn't mean I can't. Listen,
your best life can be in the guest room. It doesn't have to be in your bedroom. Because
don't go to Felipe's house if you're hungry at night in your bed, guys. Don't even tell Felipe you're snacking. He'll come in there as the snack police.
Well, not only that.
Stop it. It's not CCC. We're not going to tell them how to love themselves. That's the other part.
One question. Can I ask one question to the audience?
Yeah. The audience or me?
How you and the audience, how many people are bothered when they get into their bed and they find a crumb or something? Just tell me, does that bother you? Yes or no? Now I'll shut up.
Oh, look, I'm Princess and the Pea. Nothing can be a crumb in my bed, but that's fine. We don't eat messy in the bed. We don't do that.
You may not.
I don't, because I'm trained. I'm a professional bed eater. So listen, guys,
Oh,
I
is that the new
love.
Olympic sport, professional bed eating?
No, genuinely, one of my favorite love language is to be served breakfast in bed or food in bed or whatever. But sometimes I will take an afternoon nap, and so to wake up to dinner in bed, not mad at all. That is one of my favorite things my husband would do. So no, don't take that away from me. I'm not doing. Nope. You just have to eat better. Have a little a tray. Bring a table.
Oh,
We're fine.
that's nice. That's nice.
Okay, but guys, I really like Felipe. I have a question for you. So, how do you love you? Like, what is that thing beyond the Thin Mints, beyond food? Like, what is that personal care time really look like for you? That's non-negotiable. Not even your wife gets to interrupt because you're like, "This is where I am. I need this space. I need to do some self-care, love time."
Um, I never called it self-care love time, but it was just I need some downtime, and that time was usually, especially early on in our relationship, it was very much right when I got home from work. Give me my 15 minutes. It started off as half an hour, then went to 15, then it went down to 5 when we had kids. But it was that time where I just wanted to decompress, kind of remind myself, okay, I'm not at work anymore. I'm home. I can stop thinking about it and kind of shift. And for me, it took a little bit of time to shift. I always didn't shift quickly when it came to coming home. At work, I could shift into different things instantaneously. But the other time is when I'm reading or what, and actually, I'll even apply it to watching a movie. Um, when I'm reading, I just want to be able to read and not be interrupted and get into that flow state and let me get lost in this world that I'm in right now because I want to enjoy that time. I want to mentally be there. And sometimes what I've realized is doing audiobooks when I walk, I've actually really enjoyed that. Audiobooks and walking to me was like the mental, physical, like, okay, I'm giving myself a lot of like love right now, and I am enjoying the shit out of it because I'm enjoying the walk. I'm listening to this great book, and sometimes I'll reread a book. I'll listen to an audiobook of a book I read, and that way I know kind of what's happening. So if I get distracted by scenic things, I'm not like lost in the book. And that's one of my favorite things to do is listen to an audiobook of a book I've already read. Um, and then outside of that, I would just say I don't have any like really like major boundaries of like leave me alone. Probably because I've been in HR so long, I've been trained to somebody walks in, you drop what you're doing and give them your full attention because you're there for them. So, but I do have those boundaries of like let me read, let me decompress when I finish my work day, and Saturday mornings before your show and Social Saturday Chat. Saturday mornings used to be my mornings just for myself, but now it's a LinkedIn morning. Oh, and can I add one more thing about love?
Well, well, 2 seconds, because one, mute your freaking vibration. That's the worst thing in the world on an audio event. Number two,
How, how,
hold
how
on. No, hold on. Number two, what you said, I have to just reiterate. I love that you do the audiobooks or like books in general. And I'm going to mute you for a second because you're still vibrating. Um, it is driving me nuts. I also do audiobooks or I also do podcasts in the same way where there's a low entry point. I don't know if it's because we're a little neurospicy and like that, but there is something beautiful about being in like self-care mode, going for a walk, having your favorite songs on, being able to dive into a deep thought and come back and pick up right into those lyrics or that book. And I think guys, having that it's a low stress point because your brain is already in the know. There is scientific fact behind that. The more you do something that's known to you, you get to rest a little bit more. We're always spatially aware, and if you walk into a new environment, whether you know it or not, your body is going to respond as it is a new environment. It's going to be more in defense mode than relaxed. It's why when you go into your house, your body kind of releases in a way because it's very familiar territory. And so as you're growing these new experiences, take some of those comparables with you, like the things that you know. Take your favorite song, take your favorite book, take your favorite a snack and go to a new environment, because you're going to find more peace taking things you already understand, know, and are comfortable with into those new environments, especially if you're an anxious person. And I can tend to be, especially in environments I'm not used to yet, because like I said, all of the things. We are always in defense mode until we know we're safe. And so create those safe spaces for you. What does it look like? Find your favorite cafe where you know the people. I like to play pool at the same spot, Felipe, because I know the people who work there and I feel comfortable. If I was uncomfortable, I could go to somebody I know and say, I'm not very comfortable. I got to go. And I would be okay and be monitored while I leave, kind of thing. And so I think having that's important. But what did you want to say about love?
So, well, one thing about there is, you described just compassion. At the end of the day, have compassion. For 30 years, one of my primary roles was when someone had to be terminated, I had to do that. And that sucks. That's the worst part of my job. And there are people out there that will fire somebody with glee, with enjoyment, with cruelty. I'm like, and that says a lot more about that person. Have some compassion. People are already at the point where they're having a difficult situation, and that's what with love too. Is don't kick somebody when they're already feeling bad. I mean, what kind of person are you? Are you gonna kick a puppy? And that's the kind of person I think you are. If you're kicking someone when they're down, you're a puppy kicker.
Oh,
But
sheesh.
with love, I want to remind people about Valentine's Day. One of my favorite Valentine's Day is when we had two young kids. We were not going anywhere out by ourselves. We're like, let's take the kids with us. And we just realized, you know what? This Hallmark holiday, which it is a Hallmark holiday, I'm sorry, but make it about love and with anyone in your life. It doesn't have to be that boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse kind of thing. It can be your child. It can be your best friend. It can be your grandparent. Um, Make it about love and just appreciate and make it a little bit special, and just remember to do it throughout the year, because that's one thing that we had so much fun with our kids. And we were at this restaurant and we realized there were like six other families there. Like, all right, this was not an original idea, but we had fun, and we just kind of talked about Valentine's Day. What do you love? And everything from candy to Pac-Man to, our kids were saying everything. So I think there's a lot of benefits to broadening your scope when you think about Valentine's Day.
Yes. And also, not just Valentine's Day, guys. This is about every day being possibly the last day to consider it a day to share love. Because truthfully, Felipe, there's no guarantee you're making it to next week. No offense to you, no offense to me. I may not be here either, right? Or it might just be me not there. And so we have to be intentional every single day. And you can't wait for somebody else to celebrate you. And I know, I agree, it's the Hallmark holiday for sure. And you have to make sure that if you care about somebody, they know right now. If you have plans for Valentine's Day, you want to do something, tell them, plan on it so they can be excited with you today. You don't have to tell them the whole thing, but just, I want you to be my Valentine in a week. I want to spend my Friday with you. I want to go read a book with you at Barnes and Nobles on Sunday, whatever it is. Also, Jay, how dare you come to my room and say that? What? I'm definitely a Seahawks girl. We're coming live from Washington State right now. And if it's not Cardinals, it's Seahawks. Go Bird Gang. Anyway, what I would say, guys, if you're not feeling love for yourself, reach out to me and let's talk. Because there have been a lot of times in life where it was hard to even receive somebody else's love because I wasn't feeling worthy. I wasn't aware that it was love being given to me because I was so in my head or so stressed out, right? Rob asked that question. Stress absolutely eclipses love. Stress eclipses everything. So if your circles in life, if your Venn diagram is looking really fuzzy, if you're just not sure where you're supposed to be, what's supposed to be happening, but none of it feels aligned, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you. I want to talk about it. I want to make sure you're not feeling alone, because you're only alone if you allow yourself to be. You can choose to bring others in. If you're feeling lonely, reach out. Somebody else is also feeling lonely. And if you're not capable of going and pouring into somebody, that's okay. Just say, hey, I'm feeling lonely. Can we go sit quietly on the beach? Can we go sit quietly in the library, read our books? Can we go sit and have coffee and stare at each other's foreheads, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Ask them to come over and watch Netflix. Say nothing. That's okay. But if you don't know how to even start doing that, reach out to a coach, a friend, an accountability partner, somebody who's going to help you move forward. If you're feeling unloved, please write down why. What is it that's making you feel that way? Is it the repeated memories in your brain that you just keep re-delivering to your inbox? Is it the self-talk that maybe isn't aligning? Is it love notes you're sending yourself? Are you filling your Valentine's box with, hey, I want to be your friend? Are you filling the Valentine's box with, I hate you and don't come back? Guys, these are your choices. Is somebody delivering messages you don't like to your box? Because not everybody's kind, right? We've all seen the world can be ugly. I know for a fact, doing background checks, even family can be ugly to other family members. It can get really ugly inside relationships and family dynamics. And so if you're facing that, I want you to set some good boundaries. I want you to ask yourself the questions. Who makes me feel like these aren't true? How can I change that behavior if it's me? Do you need to write these down on your wall? Do you need to have them on the fridge? Do you need to have them in the bathroom? Can you make sure you feel loved at all times, first from yourself and then from others? Because if you don't feel loved internally, if you can't love yourself, how can you pour into others? If you're not feeling it, as soon as somebody comes in and wants to give it to you, are you going to latch on too strongly? Are you going to pull too much? Or are you going to be like that vampire that sucks the last drop? Because that ruins relationships too. You got to have those good boundaries so you don't overwhelm your partner who could give you that life and that water. It can't be your sole source, because if they disappeared tomorrow, you're no better off than today. So how do you love you? How do you set those boundaries? How do you move within you and then empower and strengthen a relationship with others? I love what Felipe shared. I love that we're going to be live again tomorrow, Careers, Chaos, and Coaching. You need to go check out his profile and click attend. Did you click attend yet? Because we're going to be talking about leadership and getting ready before the big game. And it happens to happen before the big game too, which is great. And go Seahawks one more time. But guys, how are you spending tomorrow? Who are you spending it with? What are you going to be doing to grow? Take care of yourself. Make sure that the last 12 hours looks exactly like you want the last 12 hours to look. And I don't say 24, guys, because genuinely, I want you to get really into it. If I say hour, what does the last hour look like? Did you love yourself through this conversation? Do you feel like you were treating yourself well by being here? Did you matter? Did you raise your voice? Did you raise your hand? Did it align with your values? Did you get anything from this? Let me know. I want to know in the comments. I am going to head out, but I want to remind you a couple of things. One, I'm here if you need to talk. I can help you with your leadership development within your organization. I can help you with business transformation, fixing those things that aren't working. And then I do personal coaching for businesses, consulting. But then I also have some programs going on right now for individual coaching. You can do a 30-minute one-up power session for $125. I can do business and team coaching for as little as $125 per person. That gets into a 90-minute full session. And then I also have the social selling package. Anybody, anytime, any reason, we can take your brand and level it up, whether it's business or pleasure. All of this needs to work for you so you can find the people you want to work with. Don't forget to go over to YouTube and subscribe, guys. And then genuinely, if you got anything out of this conversation, if you just want to send a little thank you, there's my what is it? Not coffee chats. That's buy me a coffee. Sorry, I was looking at my QR code. I couldn't get there. That's my buy me a coffee. If you want to just send a cup of coffee, thanking me for coffee chats, that's cool. If not, that's fine. Come back next week. We're going to have another topic. And then also, again, tune in tomorrow to Careers, Chaos, and Coaching. You can find the playlist on my YouTube channel and then go follow Felipe because he's hosting. He's doing the things. It'll be great. If you need help, please reach out to me. Otherwise, I want you to dance the day away. I'm going to leave a little bit early today, guys, because my bladder's full. I drank a full Red Bull and a water, and now I have to get out of here. So dance the day away with me. Go find Social Saturday Chat. It's going to start at 9 a.m. Pacific. And I will see you there in the comments. Take care, guys.
Sunlight creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup was a whisper. Conversations open doors, spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright.